and welcome to a brand new episode of Trashtalk on Attack Vector Tactical, a show where I talk about the various ships and vessels you will be commanding in a game of Attack Vector Tactical. In today's episode, Wasp class fast attack destroyer. When the nation's Federated Marine d'Etoiles merged with Olympia in 2245, it brought immense technical expertise with it. Olympia turned this expertise toward designing a new line of starships. The Wasp-class frigates were conceived as fast attack destroyers, capable of front-line engagement against equivalent weight ships from any power, and capable of operating as consorts to the Diggle-Rhea-class command cruisers developed at the same time. Initially, the Olympian Defense Forces Space Arm planned to name the hulls in sets of 4, however, the Lebensraum party in the Olympian Parliament objected, and further funding for the Wasp class was secured at the price of permitting the Lebensraum party to name certain ships. Despite its checkered budgetary career, the Wasp class is considered among the finest frigates in known space, demonstrating an excellent balance between firepower, thrust, and protection. They are also costly, but most analysts believe that, in this case, the money has been well spent. Weighing 5,125 tons, while the Wasp has a classification of destroyer, it's still really just a frigate-class vessel. Warship classification no longer matters since the dawn of missile anyway, as its classification implied. The Wasp is fast. Its Spanham-Wiley DT torch can push this vessel to 1.5 g of acceleration, 1.75 at half fuel, giving it an incredible 6 max thrust. Rapid vector change is something this ship can easily achieve, but its low 13.1 km per second worth of delta V or 83 units of fuel leaves something to be desired. This ship can burn like a candle with its speed. Use it well or you will be dead in the water faster than you can blink. And to achieve this rapid acceleration, some sacrifice was required. The ship is only powered by 2 Epstein Delta reactors, providing a total of 125 MW or 2 power per segment, a 50% decrease in power generation over all previously mentioned warships, and while it can operate at full power generation for 6.5 turns or 832 seconds with 13 Okuda sodium heat sinks, this isn't a ship you can fight for a long time with. Its 14 Semper Paratus batteries is just barely enough for its main weapon battery, let alone everything else. Flying the Wasp is going to require a certain degree of finesse for its commander. While expensive, the high-end Spanham-Wiley torch and its advanced radiators are economical with reaction mass while delivering 1.5 g of thrust. In turn, the drive's high thrust permits them to close the range and deliver the tremendous punch of its 2,400 nanometers laser batteries, potentially crippling another frigate in a single salvo and probably obliterating smaller combatants in one shot. The heavy missile tubes and coil guns serve to constrain target maneuver to permit a successful attack run. Since the 2,400 nanometers laser suite requires them to close further than other fleets' 1,200 nanometers lasers, the Wasp class has heavy forward armor for a frigate in hopes of surviving the run. Additional durability comes from the ODFSA practice of armoring fuel tanks. As is standard for Olympian ships, the Wasp class mounts particle beam zone defense to engage great numbers of incoming projectiles simultaneously. Despite having a larger portion of its mass dedicated to its fusion torch, the Wasp is still quite heavily armed with 4 Pembros 4-7Y 2.84 meters lasers, 2 Radiant Dynamics Barker 23-2 coil guns, 2 Whitworth heavy missile tubes, and 8 Spenvis G3A zone defense particle beams. This translates to 4 Class 4 short-range laser systems, 2 Class 250 kg coil guns, 2 big missile launchers, and 8 ZDPB. The 4 SRLS are basically why the Wasp is named the Wasp. These are Class 4 short-range laser, each can deal a max of 35 damage up to 6 hexes, for a combined total of 140, 108 on average, and way less beyond that. However, you are never going to shoot all 4 lasers at once. First, look at these firing arcs. They are small, tiny, and the overlapping zone is basically nothing. And second, the Wasp is a cylindrical ship, which turn like they are on a 5-minute break, very hard to adjust for precision. And third, you most likely won't do that even if you do get enemy exactly directly in front of you, because that's so much damage it will be wasted and go out the other side, which is cool but it means that's a lot of wasted energy, and also the combined barrage will eat 24 energy total and you can only store 28 max. That doesn't leave a lot for point defense and the ZDPB are hungry boys. Also, you most likely will get one of the lasers shot out before you could even get in range, because any damage that goes into the nose arc has 60% chance of critting 1 out of 4 of all your offensive weapon arcs. That's absurdly high to say the least. Nevertheless, Combined with high thrust and powerful short-range weapons, the Wasp is still one devastating machine, even if it has a lot of drawbacks. Supporting the Class 4 are the 50 kg coil guns and big missiles launchers. The Class 2 coil guns have the same problem as the coil guns of the Olympus. There's no drum magazine, so you can only fire them for 12 salvos and that's it. These are however Class 2, which means they are dirt cheap to fire. In general, you want to fire these on approach to target, not to restrict their maneuver because these can't sustain the barrage, but to make them burn energy shooting the incoming salvos. 850 kg slugs per segment doesn't hurt much, but they will add up and it doesn't cost you much to fire them anyway. The big missiles, on the other hand, can definitely force your enemy to maneuver in a specific direction. You basically want to use them to constrict your enemy's maneuver so you can bring your short-range laser to bear. Remember, Olympus big missiles are often loaded to the max with payloads, so your enemies will have a hard time dodging them. Also, you will want to fire those big missiles almost immediately in a fight. Remember the 60% crit chance. Ammo explosion mechanic in AVT is not as devastating as one you can find in Battletech, but it will still hurt a lot. In a way, you are betting on your first pass on your foe to be your finishing blow. On your second run, you will be out of missile, one of your laser probably cracked, so you are not exactly in peak condition. Unlike the Olympus, however, the Wasp has more than enough thrust to catch up even in the state. It's named a Wasp and not a Bumblebee after all. Still, you will want to finish a fight fast. Your fuel economy isn't exactly in a good condition compared to most other ships, but with those Class 4 short-range laser, ending fight quickly is something you can perform reliably. And to protect yourself against incoming maneuver constraints or missiles, because the enemy will definitely fire them at you for being such a speedy delicious targets, 8 zone defense particle beams will defend just about every incoming direction well, which the Wasp will need because again, this thing can't turn. It won't work well against heavy or hardened projectiles, but considering the armor of the Wasp, being able to handle most projectiles coming your way is still pretty damn good. The weaknesses of the Wasp class are few. As a cylindrical ship, it does not pivot rapidly. Its power system also presents its captains with difficult choices. One salvo from the main battery will consume 24 gigajoules of the 28 gigajoules its batteries can store, leaving little power for coil guns and zone defense during the attack run. While the reactors can be turned on as the attack run commences, this may shorten the ship's heat endurance, and careful timing would still be required to ensure sufficient power remained for the primary salvo. The armor layout of a cylindrical ship is a lot different than that of a spherical ship. A spherical ship, after all, comes with a spherical hull. The armor silhouettes are the same in every facing. A cylindrical ship is instead narrow and thin, creating long side silhouettes with only one region for nose and rear. A cylindrical ship also often has thick armor on its nose and barely anything everywhere, because as long as you can face your foes directly, that's all you need. But what happens if you are not? What if your foe is off by 30 degrees from your nose? This can both be good and really bad. In this example, your foe shoots laser at you 30 degrees off to starboards, which means they will be hitting this armor region. Despite hitting on the starboard silhouette, you won't be rolling soak roll against the starboard facing, but the nose facing instead. But following hit locations after the damage reached hull depth will be the same. That region only has 3 armor, so that's gonna be a lot of damage. However, the hull depth of the Wasp on the sides, or any cylindrical ship really, are very small, which means a high damage hit will just blow right through, dumping most of the damage while leaving the internal a lot less harmed, meaning, the Wasp can technically tank high damage attack while getting hit on the side, but multiple weaker hit ironically will rip it to shred. However, not all is well if you get hit like this either, because it means your enemy has a high chance of rolling a soak roll in the 3rd armor region, which upon rolling a 10% chance, you take 3 structural integrity hits. The Wasp has 14, and it won't take much for it to be disabled long before that. It all comes down to luck really, but in short, you don't want to get flanked in a Wasp. Another quirk of the cylindrical armor silhouette is that if your weapon aim point ends up on the nose, you can only hit the nose. Aim shifting is a flex point required tactic that can be used to essentially shift the aim point of your attack to target specific or just weak armor region, and you can shift your aim point to another facing through these things called gates, but on the nose facing of the Wasp, you can see there is no such thing. Meaning, it's impossible to try to hit anything else if a cylindrical ship doesn't want you to, but it also means that the Wasp will get hit on the nose a lot, and if any damage gets through, the soak roll has a 60% chance of hitting one of the weapon mounts. This is exactly why I say you will lose one laser just for going towards your enemy. You might think the solution here is to just go fast, but this is a Newtonian physics game. Go too fast, and you might not be able to get back for second pass in time, especially with your limited fuel. The Wasp, in every sense of the word, is a glass cannon that wants to get close to deliver devastating attack. Its max thrust of 6 means that it can get 1 point of acceleration in first thrust segment and 2 in the second. You can really go fast in the Wasp, but turn fast is not it. The Wasp use the pivot L table, and you definitely take a L with this. It will take you 3 segments just for a 90-degree turn, and while the Wasp has 2 flex, you probably will be spending these most of the time to turn rapidly against any incoming situations, effectively making your pivot 1 segment faster. You have plenty of thrust to avoid incoming seekers, even double layers 1 if you turn in time, but you have no armor on your sides, so I would advise not doing that when things get too close. Instead, that's what the all-surrounding ZDPV systems are for. If you can't turn, shoot them down, which means you really want to reserve some power for them or else you will be in a lot of troubles. So, what's the strategy to use a Wasp with then? Well, you want to set a quick vector to your target, not too fast that you can't make a second pass, but fast enough to reach them quickly and for your seekers to hurt. You will launch both of your big missiles at range because they will be a liability otherwise, forcing the enemy to move in a predictable pattern. Coil guns firing, purely with the intention of wasting your enemy's energy, you don't expect them to do significant damage, and once within 6 hexes, fire 2 of your class 4, cutting deep into their hull. This will keep enough energy in your battery to save yourself. Turn, keep your nose facing towards your enemy, always, and just as you are about to drift out of the range, fire the remaining 2, or 1 if one is damaged already. This should leave your enemy quite dead in the water, and if not, a second pass will do them in. The Wasp also contains just 1 magazine slot, which means you need to choose between having more salvos for your coil guns to fire, or 2 extra big missiles. If you got the points for it, I would choose big missiles. When playing as the Wasp, you want to finish things up in as few passes as possible. Big burst of damage to devastate your opponent is the key here. Due to your fragility and low fuel endurance, it will take you a long while to return for second passes, might as well taking the time to reload, though most likely case is that you can't even afford a second reload of missiles due to point limit. With 32 weeks of crew endurance, the Wasp can serve fine as a solo patrol ship, though not as long as the Olympus. Unlike the slow but tough Olympus, the Wasp couldn't just outmaneuver most of its opponents, but can also pick its battle, and if all else fails, it can just retreat and there's nothing its opponent can do about it. It's not hard to see why the Wasp will eventually replace the Olympus in totality. And that's basically it on the Wasp class fast attack destroyer, a lightning fast frigate that can finish a fight just as quick, but take too long, and it will need to start an engine-rich fire. That's all for now, and I will see you all next time. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe and click that notification bell button. If you want to see the videos early as well as further support my channel, you can join in my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.